Hi, I'm George Jensen, lead pastor at ECOG. Thank you so much for watching this episode of What's Up With That, where we answer questions for skeptics, seekers, and believers. I'm coming to you today from right outside the sanctuary here at ECOG, where we just completed a funeral. In fact, you notice that the guest book stand is still here. And I thought that because for this funeral I was wearing a dark suit and a dark tie, that I would talk about darkness today. In particular, fresh on the minds of many people right now are the recent school shootings that have happened, particularly the Florida school shooting just last week. And as you hear of these kinds of reports, surely you're asking yourself, what's up with that? Well, I thought that the illustration of darkness may be a good one for us to understand a little bit about what's going on. Right now, it's very clear that many people are trying to find solutions to this problem. Anything from tighter security in schools to hiring officers, more officers to be present. There's talks about what to do about weapons and guns in this nation. And there's one other issue that's being talked about that I'm glad it's being mentioned, and I'm going to refer to it as the issue of inner darkness. Now, this suit that I have on, it's dark, but it's on the outside of me. It has no effect on how I think or how I act. It's just how I'm presenting myself at this funeral. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, we know that there's inner darkness inside people, and this inner darkness is the root of what is causing all of these kinds of tragedy. It's true. Now, you may be a Christian or you may not be. Even if you're not, you have to admit that there's something very wrong, something very dark in the mind of an individual who would go to a public place like a school and start shooting people randomly, as we've seen happen. Now, whether you believe in Christianity or not, let me share with you that the Bible does address this issue. Jesus talked about darkness being on the inside of an individual in the book of Matthew. This is what he says, "For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, and slander." And although he doesn't mention the word darkness there, all of those things we recognize are very dark deeds. They're dark. And I think that if we understand more about darkness and what it takes to get rid of darkness, maybe we can address that side of this equation in terms of the darkness issue in these terrible events. Light is the only thing that dispels the darkness. Maybe you're watching this again and you don't believe in the Christian gospel, but isn't it true that if someone who has so much darkness inside of them could be helped to have a different view, to have a different outlook on life, to change their dark thinking into something more positive or good, that would be a major step. While I think that is a good thing, I as a Christian would argue that it takes more. Yes, it is going to take some individuals to have therapy, to have counseling, maybe medication, but I believe that God offers us something great and that's greater than all of those things as well, and that is true light. True light that comes through Jesus Christ. When God comes into your life through Jesus Christ, when the Holy Spirit comes to live in an individual, it changes an individual because that darkness is dispelled by the light that now lives in that person. So I hope that you will consider these things, and as you ponder and think about what may be best to solve these problems that we see in our world, remember the darkness, the inner darkness part of the equation. Consider encouraging those in leadership, in our schools, in our government, in other places, how we can look to dispel the inner darkness. And I would dare you to consider, especially if you're not a Christian, but if you're a Christian, you'll agree with me, how we can do a better job of promoting the true light, the light of God, that ultimately dispels that darkness and turns a heart towards the right. And that's what's up with that. Hey, as always, once again, thank you so much for watching. And we do invite you here to ECOG, where we are not a place of darkness, but we believe God has called us to be a lighthouse for Him. guiding people to salvation and preparing people to face the storms of life. We hope that you can join us some Sunday here at ECOG. Until then, be blessed.